The ICE raids are continuing to be like a horror story for certain Latino immigrants. No matter if you're from Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, or any place in Latin America, if you're undocumented, your status is just not sure. Even if you have a green card, even if you serve in the military, you could be very well ripped from your family and loved ones and deported to your country of origin. And this has really gotten a lot of people concerned because a lot of folks in big cities like Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles are also being affected in their own neighborhoods. I did a story on the city of Cudahy, where it is a largely Hispanic community in Los Angeles, and of course they've been getting ICE raids too, but they're not the only ones. ICE raids are even happening in homeless shelters.
I just went to our advisory board meeting this afternoon and found out that ICE tried to raid one of our homeless shelters in Bell here in Los Angeles County. Thank God the staff did not let them into the building. They did not have a search warrant, but they tried to intimidate the staff of a homeless shelter run by the Salvation Army. These are people who are trying to get better, are trying to have a better life, are trying to get a job, that need a roof over their head. And ICE, you are going to try to raid a homeless shelter? You are disgusting.
Now, this particular lady is upset about these ICE raids occurring in homeless shelters because her argument is, well, these are people trying to get their life together. These are people trying to get back on their feet. And you are trying to raid Salvation Army?
Huh?
But here's what she's not saying.
LA County wants to pay rent, okay, using our taxpayers' money to go pay rent for illegals who can't go to work. Mind you, they weren't supposed to be in the United States to work in the first place. Now you want to go help them pay their rent? Like, excuse you? What happened to the landlords who have to pay their goddamn mortgage? How about we prioritize those landlords and give those housing units to people who deserve them, like veterans, like the homeless people that are out there. There's more than enough. And so we want to prioritize these illegals who weren't supposed to be here to work in the first place.
You see, what she's not talking about is that you have certain people in Los Angeles who want to give free rent for illegals, and a homeless shelter is kind of where it starts. And this lady is upset because, hey, listen, she lives in Los Angeles and she has to work every day. But the city of Los Angeles, or at least some of the people, you're looking at giving free rent to these illegals, people who shouldn't be in the country. And you're looking to use our tax dollars to fund it.
Damn.
And of course, unfortunately, we knew this next thing would happen. You see, you have people who have been deported out of the country, but guess what?
I'm back. It only took 2 days or a couple hours, you guys, and I'm back in the U.S. See, I told you guys, this immigration shit ain't gonna stop nothing, you guys. Nothing. It's not gonna do shit. We're all gonna come back. Nothing's gonna happen. I'm just waiting for my ride now, but you guys, I'm back. And I don't give a what y'all think. If y'all wanna hate me, but I'm back in the US. I can smell the chicken nuggets, the hamburgers. I just gotta watch out for ICE around this parking lots because those motherfuckers be hiding.
Boy, y'all sit your stupid ass down. Who the you think you is?
This guy is silly. He got deported out of the country, stuck back in the country, and he's like, we're back. We're not going anyplace. I'm gonna stay here. I smell the chicken nuggets. I smell all the food.
Got him!
I mean, it's funny until they find his ass and deport him again. But hey, I get it. And of course, the people that are taking the blame for this are Trump supporters, right? Or whoever likes Trump. And not only that, because you have a lot of African Americans who don't necessarily like Donald Trump, but they do like the process because, hey, we are black taxpaying citizens in the United States, wherever you are, Chicago, New York City, and our tax money is funding illegals. How do we know this? Well, remember, guys, for 2 years in the Biden administration, or at least the last 2 to 3 years, there was something going on in America called the migrant crisis. And it might not have affected many cities, but for those cities it did affect, it hit it hard. Los Angeles, But the biggest cities that I saw were cities like Chicago, New York City. It put a huge strain on the city. And it didn't just put a huge burden on the city. It also proved one thing. It proved that for the African American communities that were left in dilapidated conditions, it showed that for the migrants, we can restore these neighborhoods and rebuild them back up. Like, we have certain situations where in Chicago, they were telling black people that certain neighborhoods could not be redeveloped. But with the migrant crisis, we found out that was a lie.
We're standing in the community right now, Cabrini Green, where so many promises was made, for the rebuild. And that hasn't happened. And the storyline behind why it hasn't happened has been there is not enough resources. There is not enough funding. And then years later, you have an influx of migrants, right, coming to Chicago, and then resources appear out of nowhere.
And this is what really kicked off another quarrel between the Hispanic and the black communities. Now, again, people are saying that African Americans that are speaking on this issue are really being apathetic and not caring towards what's going on with Hispanics. But I would also like to say this. Are they being empathetic to what's happening to African Americans? And the reason why African Americans are saying that is because it is a disparity. What do I mean by disparity? Rewind. A guy that's been really covering this almost every day, Donnie on Timeout. Shout out to a brother. I believe he's a brother in Los Angeles, and he's been covering this. But what he's about to uncover is shocking.
The United States isn't the only country that's deporting Latinos. Mexico is also deporting Latinos, thousands a week, and the living conditions are horrific. Check this out.
Mexico cracked down heavily on undocumented migration. Camps around the capital here have been removed, this being one of the last remaining.
Ya quedó así, no vino migración, no vino nadie a decir nada.
De aquí se han ido con varias personas, se han ido mucho ya. El de aquí de este ranchito aquí ya se fue ya el miércoles pasado.
So many migrants.
Now, if the United States had undocumented immigrants living like this in sheds, there would be an outrage, an outcry. But I guess this type of information they want to suppress from the public because it took me hours to find this information. And it's wild because the U.S. have undocumented immigrants living better than U.S. vets that's homeless.
When I heard this, I couldn't even believe my eyes. I was like, what? You mean Mexico is deporting migrants to their own respective countries? Now, wait a minute. There's been so much information and heat on the Trump administration and ICE raids and even African Americans that support this. But when I saw this, I got really interested, and he said it took him a long time to find this clip. But with his help, I was able to find the full clip of what was going on. And check this out.
Mexico has plans to begin conducting around 1,000 deportations by air a week, repatriating both US deportees and undocumented migrants to their countries of origin. In a contract tendered to international airlines, Mexico's National Migration Institute has stipulated the need for at least 11 flights per week, at an estimated cost of $11 million throughout the rest of this year.
This
is a response to Donald Trump's cancellation of US asylum pathways for migrants and the informal bilateral agreements on migration between the two countries' administrations.
One of US President Trump's conditions for Mexico to avoid tariffs was increased collaboration on undocumented migrant flows towards America's southern border.
Mexico's ongoing crackdown on undocumented migration has intensified this year, with authorities here in the capital working to clear makeshift migrant campsites like this one and detain those still set on reaching the US border.
Oh yeah, Mexico itself doesn't want illegal migrants. They are getting rid of them and sending them back to their respective country. If we think about Latin America, again, we've heard John Leguizamo talk about how Latin America, they built this country and all of this and kind of like pan-Latinoism sort of stuff, and they're the #1 migrant group in America. Well, that's interesting because obviously Mexico doesn't feel that way. Mexico doesn't want illegal Colombians in their country. They don't want illegal Ecuadorians in their country. They don't want illegal Dominicans in their country. Anybody that's a Spanish speaker and that should not be in Mexico, guess what? They're getting rid of all of them. And for us as blacks, it's easy for us to believe that because everybody's Hispanic, they get along. But it's just like our community. Not all blacks get along. Not all Jamaicans and African Americans get along, or Nigerians or Ghanaians, because still we see ourselves as different individuals from time to time, depending on what the concept is. And that is also true for Latin America. They see themselves different. So while at the same time people are going back and forth on TikTok about how blacks feel about Hispanics being here illegal or any other illegals, their own respective countries are deporting people who are illegals on their soil. And look at the dilapidated housing that these people are living in. Remember what Donnie on Timeout said. He said something very interesting. If the migrants were living in those type of dilapidated living conditions like they are in Mexico, people would have a lot to say about this. But what kind of conditions are Hispanic illegals or other illegals living in America?
I'm standing here on Bruckner Boulevard on 141st Street. This is the site where the borough-based jail will be. Now, if you cross the boulevard, this is the site the city has identified to be a homeless shelter housing 2,200 single men. This will be a migrant shelter. This is where the city has decided to put it in my haven. The Bronx has its fair share of shelters, especially in the South Bronx. And just a few blocks over, there are some more shelters. My biggest question here is why the South Bronx one? But also, if this is coming to our neighborhood, then how are you going to ensure safety? We've seen and we've heard a lot of the issues that have happened near migrant shelters with migrants. How are we ensuring that this is not going to be the case here in the South Bronx? There are a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions that our community and our residents have. The biggest frustration is that nobody came to talk to the people who live in the community who will be directly impacted by this decision that was already made. Nobody came to talk to the community.
Shout out to that sister in the Bronx. Now, the reason why I'm focusing on her, it is important. Now, if you understand what was going on in New York City during the migrant crisis, they were renovating whole particular buildings, okay? And in certain cases, people who had properties, they were getting paid big money to put these individuals in the migrant camps, all right? Now, when you had African Americans or just Americans that could not get housed, you had illegal migrants who were able to get housed. They were able to get food. They were able to get shelter. They were able to get everything that they needed. And guess what? Nobody said anything. But on the other hand, now that they're being deported, all of a sudden, black people are xenophobic and they're racist towards Hispanics. The reality is that in their own home country of origin, they deport people all the time and don't care. It's just not televised or publicized. But Mexico is deporting as we speak. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again. Another episode of The Celebrity John. Appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.